I'm Marilyn Burns, and I was suffering from neuropathy.
I'm Don Burns. I'm Marilyn's husband, and I was aware that she was suffering from neuropathy, had trouble walking, shuffled around with a cane, and some days with a walker in her house. She's made great progress, and she no longer uses her cane or the walker.
Oh, I was suffering from neuropathy probably for at least a couple years. And the doctors kept telling me that I had neuropathy, but they had no answer to what I could do to feel better about it. They weren't even really giving me medicine because I have restless legs also. And they were giving me medicine for that, but not necessarily for the neuropathy. You just feel so kind of frustrated because you know that you're hurting. And you know that at the end, you can lose toes, you can lose your foot. You know, there's so many things that can happen. And yet they weren't giving me any help in helping me to find a solution to the problem. And I was just getting worse and worse and just not getting any better with no answers to my questions.
Well, she had several things that were bothering her. Myasthenia gravis, as well as a restless leg problem, and she's been a heart patient with she's got one stent, and some of these things she was doing something to help the cause, but the neuropathy was just left alone without any advice as to what to do.
Well, it affected, we weren't able to go places like we wanted to go. I was no longer able to walk very far. If I went with my daughter and my granddaughters on a trip, we usually took a wheelchair along so that we could go different places, you know, as shopping. It was frustrating because I was losing the ability to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do.
We have a small RV that we like to go camping, and we used to make significant trips to locations in the United States, and with her condition we sort of backed off to just doing local close by camping trips because it was difficult for her to get in and out of the RV and shuffle around when there was sights to look at.
Right, it just really hampered us from doing a lot of things that we always had done before. I don't remember that we really tried anything because we kept thinking that the doctor would come up with something, and since they had no answers for it, we just figured there was no answer for it at all. And then we heard there was a way of helping with the neuropathy, and we jumped at the chance. Well, our son and daughter-in-law has some friends that the Joe had come here for his neuropathy, and they told us that before he came, he was hardly able to walk, and that after the treatment, he was able to get back to a lot of the things that he hadn't been able to do. Well, that really sparked an interest in us, and so we came to see what you had available. And we were really pleased to find out that you did have some answers.
One of the things we really appreciated was you said you would do an exam of her neuropathy problem, and if you thought you could help her, we could sign on and do the program. But if you thought you could not help her, you weren't going to lead us on to continually coming and doing and getting no benefits. So we appreciated the opportunity to be in a program where there was progress.
Well, the first one was the H-ball. And you lay in there in that tube and you really don't think it's doing anything because it doesn't hurt. Sometimes I slept, sometimes I read, and the time just went so fast that I always kind of enjoyed laying in there and just resting and having to not worry about, oh, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. Then usually the next thing I did was the red light, and that was always nice because in the wintertime, it was always, the red lights were nice and warm, and I enjoyed that time. Again, the time went really fast. And then it was a little uncomfortable at times, but the interesting thing was when I finished all of these different treatments, I always felt better that after I left here than I had felt for a long time. So it, the, yeah, I spent some, like 2 hours here, but I always went home feeling so good and knowing that I was doing it was doing me some good. And I was getting better every time I came. That was all. The home care was also something that I made sure I did every day. The foot treatment, the water bath with the salt in it, and the little electrodes that were really interesting. And I would sit there with my feet in there, and then some people that hadn't seen that would come and Don and say, "Well, stick your hands in there," and they go like, it really jerked back and say, "You're doing that?" Well, I hardly felt anything, but that was always a fun thing to do. Then I did the red light at home, and again, you just sit there and let it do its thing, and then it turns itself off. And then I did the vibration, and then I did the little square thing that's a red light also. So there's about 4 treatments that you do at home. And I'm always of the opinion that if you're told to do something and you don't do it, then you're just wasting your time and you're wasting the doctor's time. So I made sure that, and I had a little chart that I kept each day too, to check out all the things that I had done. And I made sure that I did those every day, and it paid off.
Well, I think now that she's pretty much completed her treatments and her feet have good feeling, she used to say it felt like she was walking on cardboard or something. And her feet were cold, and they would be cold when she got in bed. And so I appreciate her feet being warmer now.
I think it was about 77%. I could tell that was, that much was gone. It was 99% improvement. So I only have 1% that I don't feel well. I would say don't even hesitate. If you have neuropathy, you need to take care of it, because it's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse. And when you know that there's a solution to the problem, don't hesitate. Just go and get it done.
And I think, again, the opportunity to come in and have the initial evaluation with you, and you'll say whether you think you can help them or not, is very good. Some people say, oh, you go to a chiropractor and they just keep you coming back again and again without knowing whether you're going to have a benefit. So the ability to come and hear you say, well, I can help you, or if there's no help, then you'll say so, but you won't make this situation where you have to keep coming and not know if there's going to be a result.
I definitely would. In fact, I've already recommended it to several people.
We discussed this with is the neighbors across the road from us. She was over and Marilyn was telling her about her improvement and so forth. And she said, well, I think my husband maybe has neuropathy. Perhaps he could be helped. And so I think Tim's now a patient of yours.